Hello, everybody. Welcome to your final dose of the Creative Differences Quarantine Watch. A vaccine for the plague exists. We're finally going to be able to get out of our homes on a more regular basis and not have to worry about dying. So that's nice. I'm Colin, and it's funny that I'm introducing this one because then I'm pretty much not going to be in the episode.
I'm Gabby, and that is really hilarious. Oh my god! But at least you get to speak at one point in the episode.
And I'm Demi. And Colin, I feel like you might be able to join me on conversing about some of these television shows. As Colin said, welcome to another episode of Creative Differences, your one stop shop for movie reviews, Throwback Thursdays, and Fancast Fridays, and a number of other things. As he said, today we are doing a quarantine watch, but not only are we doing a quarantine watch, it will be our final quarantine watch for our television series. At this point, almost all of us are vaccinated. So we're probably not going to be doing another one of these. We'll probably all be together again. So it won't be much of a quarantine anymore. So no use for a quarantine watch. So usually what happens is we do 5 shows per episode. But because it's the last one, me and Gabby are just going to list off all of the shows that we haven't mentioned so far on our quarantine watch list. Are you ready, Gabby?
Yes.
Before they get started and I disappear from view, please remember to share, subscribe, let people know that we exist because we would like to build more of an audience and have people hear what we have to say. So, yeah.
So, Gabby, do you want to start us off with your first one?
Sure. My first one is How I Met Your Mother.
Ooh,
Are you watching that for the first time?
No, I watched it as it was coming out. I hated the ending so much that I never watched it again.
that sounds like the normal answer about that show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sounds like most people hated the ending.
Yeah, it was horrible and stupid, and they should have known better. But my boyfriend's housemate started watching it, and I realized that it was a good show. I think that's why everyone's so angry. There were some characters that are like reprehensible, Barney and Ted, but like everyone else in the show was fine. So I skipped the first season because I don't like the first season. And I started in season 2 and I realized that it's kind of nice. I don't mind this. And I've kind of been going back to it. I don't think I'll watch the last season. I think I'm going to watch seasons like 2 through 8, stop it there.
It's
Or
like
if I do
watching Game
watch
of
the last
Thrones.
season, yeah, or like maybe not watch the final episode. Maybe just watch like the second to last episode because
Everything
the
up to
last
it.
episode really was like, yeah, because that one was the one that ruined the show. I feel like it just kind of turned the mom into a uterus, an incubating
Ooh.
device, and then just like killed her off so Ted could be with Robin, who like would look like she was gonna have this great marriage with Barney, and then they just ruined that. Um,
Yeah, I heard about that.
yeah, it was really dumb. Also, I realized that like this was one of those first shows that like they had running gags on, like actual real running gags, because the show started like right as streaming and binge watching became a thing. And so they were able to keep these long running gags because people were watching it all at once. And so like that's interesting to watch too. They also had like a really interesting filming style with like a lot of flashbacks and a lot of moving around. And so I also like looking at that because it's not a style that's like it's not quite done the way that they did it on How I Met Your Mother. I feel like this is a good show that had just like a super dumb ending, or it was like one of those moments where like the people that created the show had decided what the ending was a long time ago and that were just committed to giving that ending instead of like pulling back and examining where they had led the show and where the audience was, because it feels like there was like a disconnect between where the creators of the show and the writers of the show were moving and where the audience thought the show was moving, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, they definitely had to kind of stick to the ending that they came up with initially because they had already shot those final scenes with the kids at the beginning of the series, which what that show ran for 8 years. So you couldn't reshoot with those kids anymore. They were grown adults. So
That's true.
they couldn't pretend to be teenagers at that point. It was too late at that point. And funny that you mentioned that show because they just announced that Hilary Duff has been cast in the How I Met Your Father
Ooh.
spinoffs. that they're
Wait, so is
creating.
she gonna be the mom who died?
No, it's a
No, this is
completely
completely
different
different.
character.
They tried to do that right when How I Met Your Mother ended with what's her name? The one that Dallas always clowns. That's a director. The
Greta
Greta
lady.
Gerwig?
Gerwig?
Yeah, they tried to do it with Greta
No,
Gerwig.
really?
Yeah, they did. They tried to do a spin-off right when the show like either I don't know if it was right when it ended or at some point during its run. But yeah, they did try that with Greta Gerwig and they shot a pilot and it didn't get picked up.
Yeah, but now they're doing a different one with Hilary Duff starring in it. So good for
Actually, the
her.
Greta Gerwig one was called How I Met Your Dad.
Oh, this one's called How I Met Your Father.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
And that was in 2014. So yeah, near when the show was ending. So yeah, I've been rewatching it, but like I said, I don't think I'm going to
Watch the end.
watch the ending because I hated it so much, and I feel like it really ruined the show. But I'm having a good time rewatching right now.
Dope. So I'm gonna do what I usually do, and I'm going to talk about the most recent show that just came out. And
Ooh.
Colin may be able to join me on this one because my first show that I'm talking about is Shadow and Bone, which is currently on
Hello.
Oh my
Netflix.
god, I want to
Starring
watch
Jess
that.
it stars Jesse May Lee, Ben Barnes, Archie Reno, Freddie Carter, Amita Suman, and Kit Young. For anybody who doesn't know what the show is about, dark forces conspire against orphan map maker Alina Starkov when she unleashes an extraordinary power that could change the fate of her war-torn world. So, I'm going to try and keep it really quick because we do have so many shows that we have to get through today, more so than we usually do.
Yeah.
But I actually didn't know anything about this show before it came out outside of like the promo photos that I had seen. I had never seen a trailer. I didn't know what the story was. I knew that Colin knew something about the books. I just knew that it was a fantasy show that was coming out on Netflix. Knew nothing outside of that.
Yeah, I started reading. So I had read one book in the. I don't want to call it the series because it's like 3 different series, but I read one of the books a while ago. And then when like a trailer came out for the show, I was like, you know what? I always wanted to give those books a try. I'd bought the first book but hadn't read it yet, so I was like, cool. About a month before the show started, I started reading the books.
Oh, nice. That's nice. Yeah, so it was really hard for me to to start watching it though. I feel like I got into it just a slight bit later than everybody else because I had been working and I was trying to catch up on other shows that I was missing out on while I was working. After having several friends, including Colin, tell me that I should check out this show, I finally watched it and I thought it was really great. Like, I was really surprised at how much I really liked it. I thought the story was engaging from start to finish. I think just about all the characters are really likable. I really love that most of the cast is like basically the whole cast are lesser known actors outside of Ben Barnes because Ben Barnes is Ben Barnes. But everybody
Yep.
else is like, I've never seen you in anything before until I realized that I had seen the guy who plays David in several things before because I just didn't recognize him. Um, but I just thought that was really cool. Shout out to Daisy Head, who was on the show, who I discovered is Anthony Stewart Head's daughter. If you don't know who Anthony Stewart Head is, he is a pretty well known English actor, probably most well known for Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He plays Giles, but his daughter is an actress, and she was really good on the show.
Who does she play?
Jinya,
Oh, cool.
and I love Jinya. You already know I love Jinya. Jinya's like one of my favorite characters on
Which
the
is,
show.
I am so happy for you because if this show gets picked up for more seasons, she really goes through like a really interesting character arc that I think you'll have a lot of fun with.
Yeah, she's great. I love her. But I love most of these characters. Like even if I don't love you, I it's not that I dislike you either. You're just not as interesting as some of these other characters that I'm really enjoying on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the romances on the show are actually very well done, especially for a young
Oh,
adult TV
girl.
series.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the times, like you get like some real hit or miss ones, but I really like a lot of the romances on this show. And I felt like the first season like was a good setup. It felt like it really was the beginning to something that's going to be a lot bigger, and I'm really excited to see where it goes if it gets picked up. It probably will. I've been hearing nothing but like good things
That's
from
the thing is
everybody.
like it sounds like it's doing really well. I just want that confirmation because
Yeah.
you have shows where it's like the first season isn't even out and they get picked up for a second one. Like I
Yeah.
want to know that there's going to be more of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So but Shadow and Bone is really good if you're into fantasy and you haven't checked and if you're into young adult fantasy on top of that. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's on Netflix and it's really good. It's how many episodes? 8?
8
Eight.
8 episodes.
Eight
So it's pretty
episodes.
quick.
of your standard like 45-minute length.
Yeah,
So
it's really good, really fun. Gabby, what's your next one?
My next one is Solar Opposites Season 2. It started like last month. I'm mostly on here to tell people that season 2 came out in
I was
case
about to say you've
they're
talked about
starting
the
to watch it.
show.
I've talked about the show. I'm mostly here to tell people. Well, it's a combo, right? Solar Opposites Season 2, and then also Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet Season 2 is also out.
This is just
And
you
then
promoting.
this is just me promoting these two shows that I really like. I finished Solar Opposite Season 2. I haven't started Raven's or
Mythic
Mythic
Quest.
Quest Season 2. Sorry, I don't think it's colon Raven's Banquet this season, but I know it's Mythic Quest. So yeah, Solar Opposite Season 2. Um, some parts of it that I really enjoyed was there was more antics with these weird aliens, of course, but the most compelling storyline, in my opinion, and I feel like there should be a show about this, but whatever, is so the little aliens in season 1 were doing this thing where any adult human that like pissed them off, they would make them into a tiny person and then put them basically in like this gigantic hamster enclosure in their wall, and it takes up an entire wall. And then inevitably, because we're humans, they built like this society in there.
You want a show about the society?
Yeah, so, like yeah, it's crazy. So you would be watching, like, an episode of Solar Opposites, and then they would, like, cut away, and it would just be, like, a clip of what this messed up wall society is like. And so there's, like, 2 simultaneous storylines going on in a season of this show. It's, like, the storyline of the Solar Opposites and the storyline of what's going on with the wall. And so
It's
this
hilarious.
season, like the season obviously had that as well. And so that storyline is very compelling. And I highly recommend checking out Solar Opposites, even for that really weird and messed up storyline. Oh, it's wild AF. And so that was great. Solar Opposites is, let me give you some info just to remind
It's on
everyone.
Hulu, isn't it?
It's on Hulu. It's created by Justin Roiland and Mike McMahon, with the voices of Justin Roiland, Thomas Middleditch, Sean Giambrone, and Mary Mack. And it centers around a family of aliens from a better world who must take refuge in Middle America. They disagree on whether this is awful or awesome. A parallel storyline follows a society of humans shrunk by the replicant Yemyalak and imprisoned in a terrarium known as the Wall. That's Solar Opposites.
Oh my gosh.
And then Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet is created by. Let's hope I can pronounce his name because Dallas is the only one that can pronounce it properly. Okay, so Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet is created by Charlie Day, Megan Gantz, and Rob McElhenney. It stars Rob McElhenney, Ashley Birch, Jesse Enos, Amani Hakim, David Hornsby, Charlotte Nickdow, Danny Pudi, and F. Murray Abraham. It is about a video game studio that produces Mythic Quest, a popular MMORPG run by the game's creator, Ian Grimm. At the start of the series, the studio is about to release a major expansion pack to the game titled Raven's Banquet. The game's creative director is Ian Grimm, who argues with the lead engineer, Poppy Lee, head of the monetization, Brad Bakshi, and head writer, C.W. Longbottom. And that's Mythic Quest Raven's Banquet. Both amazing. Both season 2s just came out. And I still have to watch season 2 of Raven's Banquet, but like I'm ready. My body's ready.
And that is the promotional part of this episode.
Yay. Please pay me, Hulu. I'm just kidding.
Gabby, you want to see me try and get Colin involved in conversation again?
Let's see.
Okay.
Is it going to be an anime?
So number 2 on my list is The Expanse, which you guys can find on Amazon
Oh,
Prime.
Oh shit! Have we? I
yes.
mean, because we've talked about it, but you haven't talked about it on mic.
I have not. The show
Wow, that's
stars
wild.
Stephen Strait, Dominique Tipper, Wes Chatham, Shore Agdajlu, Kaz Anvar, Frankie Adams, and Kara G. In the 24th century, a disparate band of antiheroes unravel a vast conspiracy that threatens the solar system's fragile state of Cold War. So, The Expanse. This was what, season 5, Colin?
Yes, it was.
Season 5.
Out of 6, I think. I think the next one is the last one.
Oh, is
Holy
season 6 going to be the end
moly.
of it?
Either 6 or 7, I can't remember.
Oh, that kind of makes me sad, but like
I
also.
know.
Also, it's had a
it
good run though.
sucks. It has, yeah.
It's had a really good run. It's just altogether, it's a really great sci-fi show. And I always love coming back to this universe, even though every time it comes back, I'm always like, wait, what happened last season? I don't remember.
Okay, so The authors of the novels and writers on the series have stated that they view season 6 as a pause rather than a conclusion, and that Alcon Entertainment is very committed to the IP. And then people from Alcon Entertainment said they are considering all kinds of interesting possibilities.
Ah,
So
interesting.
who knows?
Very fitting for that show, to be honest.
Yeah.
But season 5 might have been definitely one of my favorite seasons, if not my favorite season.
Mm-hmm.
There were just a lot of great dynamics. I especially loved Naomi's storyline with Marco and Philip. That was like one of the most compelling stories of this season. And I also loved watching Amos's storyline with Clarissa. Ship them so
That
hard.
was probably my favorite because I did not expect Clarissa to come back.
Yeah.
Just because I figured she's in jail, so she's got nothing going on. But then it's like, oh, she's back and she's with Amos. Like, this is super interesting.
Dude, when I tell you that I forgot all about Clarissa, and even when
Me
she
too.
popped back up in the episode, I was like, who is this again?
Yeah, same, exactly.
And then like a couple episodes later, I was like, oh, you're that chick. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
snap. You're
It was
back.
the same for me.
I was like, this is wild. Oh my gosh, that's fantastic. You're great. And your dynamic with Amos is like, I love this so much. And I can't wait for season 6 because I can't wait for them to interact together more, especially within the team because the team was
Mm-hmm.
so divided this season. Everybody had their own thing to do that had nothing to do with each other,
Mm-hmm.
especially Amos. Amos was so when we got to the end of the season, and I remember sending you that text that said, "Oh my god, Amos absolutely has no idea what's been going on with everybody else all season. He's been
Which is
gone
wild.
because everybody else goes through so much crazy stuff that does kind of connect to one another, but it's still kind of separate. But Amos is so far gone from everybody else that it's just wild. I was so glad to have Bobby back in a much larger capacity because Bobby has always been one of my favorite characters on the show. I think Dominique Tipper gave one of the best performances that I've seen all year this season, especially in the one episode that didn't have a lot of dialogue that was just her.
Yeah, that was one of those things that, like, plot wise, it didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but she was acting and doing a lot of it by herself too.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just that episode. It was also just her interactions with Philip and her interactions with Marco were always so good and so spot on. I just was so enamored by her performance throughout the entirety of the season. And the ending of this particular season got me really excited for whatever's going to happen next season. So I'm actually super excited for season 6 whenever that finally comes out. That is The Expanse. If you guys have not seen The Expanse, you guys can find it on Amazon Prime. Gabby, what's next on your list?
Ah. So next on my list is New Girl. I started a rewatch of New Girl and finished it, and I feel like it's one of the greatest comedies that's come out in the last 10 years. It's truly amazing. Like I started watching and I thought I just liked the characters and I was like, no, this is like, oh, I just like these guys, so I'm just gonna watch this. But no, I had like legitimate laugh out loud, ridiculous like moments. I genuinely enjoyed the show. And I feel like under a certain group of people, New Girl's like, oh my God, I love it. And under and like other groups, it's like, well, no, it's just like a really girly comedy. And it's like, no, this is like a legitimately good show that deserves some more recognition than it has.
Uh,
But anyway, so just to pull up some info on it. New Girl was created by Elizabeth Merriweather. It stars Zoe Deschanel, Jake Johnson, Max Greenfield, Damon Wayans Jr., Lamorne Morris, Hannah Simone, Daniel Rockoff, and Rhiannon Rockoff. I think they're just in season 7 though. And then
yeah, Megan Fox was in like a season, wasn't she?
she was there because Zoe Deschanel. Actually, I found out something kind of like sexist AF about the ending of New Girl that I'll explain in a minute, but it was definitely like I'll explain. So Zoe Deschanel got pregnant, and so she had to be put. She had to like go on maternity leave,
Yeah,
but
for
she's
sure.
one of the main characters,
She
and
is the
so they
main
brought him.
character.
Well, in season 1 certainly, but like by this time in season like 5 or 6, it was definitely an ensemble comedy,
Yeah, but
and
she was
like
the new girl. Like,
yeah, kind of. Well, yeah, but at that point in time, like bringing in Megan Fox was not. It didn't feel like something's missing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because well, I mean, it did feel like something was missing because Jess is great, but like it wasn't like this gigantic hole in the series. It was just like because at that point it was definitely an ensemble comedy. Taking her out and then bringing somebody else in to fill the missing kind of feminine energy that she left behind worked. And then I found out later that the series ended because Zoe Deschanel had had another baby, and then Hannah Simone, who played Cece, was also pregnant. And so the studio was like, we're sick of all these maternity leaves. The show is canceled, which was like super messed up. It's like really, really messed up.
That is very messed
Like,
up. And
yeah,
unfortunately, Hollywood still does that to women.
yeah, it's bullshit. And I hate it. And I'm like, that's why this show that's like so amazing ended. I hate you guys. But yeah, they did bring Megan Fox in. She was hilarious. I also like that they did that with Megan Fox because I feel like
She's so underrated.
she's super underrated. She's hilarious.
And she gets a bad rap.
And she gets a bad rap because of sexism, because
Yeah.
men decided to objectify her as a
Yep.
child, and she hasn't been able to find good roles since then, even though she's hilarious.
Yeah, they
She has a
wanted to put
very
her in a
good
box.
deadpanned, dry sense of humor that worked really, really well with New Girl. It worked amazingly. And I feel like that's also why, like, it was her amazing sense of humor that made it so that while I missed Jess, really liked the episodes with Megan in them. And that takes talent, like to come into a show that already has an established group and to find a way to fit into that group and still
Yeah.
keep up, particularly because Lamorne Morris and Jake Johnson, well, Lamorne Morris especially, like he's a highly trained, like he's a trained comedian from Second City in Chicago. Like you're dealing with some like really highly trained comedic actors, and she came in and she fit right in. So that's really great. But yeah, New Girl is like hilarious, and I feel like it gets a bad rap because technically it is like a little bit female centric, but honestly, there's more dudes on that show than girls.
It's true. Yeah, it is.
Than women. I mean, but dude, it was super, super funny. And I think I was watching it because I was on this like Lamorne Morris kick and I just wanted to watch Lamorne. And I ended up just being like, wow, like I forgot how amazing this show is and how much I love it. So, a New Girl.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed that rewatch. I had so much fun. I was so happy.
So, my next show, I really wish that Dallas was here to talk to me about it because my third show on my list is Invincible, which is on Amazon Prime. Invincible stars Stephen Yoon, Sandra Oh, J.K. Simmons, Zazie Beetz, and Gillian Jacobs. Gillian
Oh,
Jacobs?
wow.
Not sure which one.
I think
I
it's
think it's
Gillian.
Jillian.
Oh,
Okay.
Gillian. I think it's Gillian.
Who knows?
Who knows at this
I'm so
point?
sorry.
For anybody who doesn't know what Invincible is about, the son of Earth's most powerful superhero is about to become something greater than himself, something bold, something universal, something invincible. From the comics to the screen, Invincible follows Mark Grayson's journey of becoming Earth's next great defender after his father, Nolan Grayson, also known as Omni Man. So, this show is another really great take on superheroes. I've seen a lot of people say that it's a deconstruction on superheroes, and I'm not so sure if I would call it a deconstruction so much as it likes to play on the tropes and superhero knowledge that we all know, that we're all just really accustomed to already having in our head. So Omni-Man is a bit of a Superman type, and then you've got characters that are like there's like a Batman type of character. Like the first episode literally has like the show's version of the Justice League, where you could literally just kind of analog each character to a Justice League character that we all know and love. But it plays with those things that we know. I loved the characters and the cast. Obviously, the cast is pretty stacked. Mark Hamill is also on this show, which I didn't realize until later, but he's great. Walton Goggins is in it, and he's amazing. Like, there's a number of great people on this show, and I feel like Mark Grayson, the character, he's very much a Spider-Man type of hero that's in a the boys type of world, which is really interesting. So yeah, I'm excited to see where the story goes now that we know that Mark's struggle plays like his struggle is a small part of a much larger conflict. And that's super exciting. And I just think that the show is really good. The animation is really good. It's a really, really bloody show, so if you're not into graphic violence and gore, you probably shouldn't watch it. But I do think it does a great job with the coming of age aspect too, where it's not just Mark trying to be the best superhero he can be, it's also him trying to balance his normal life. I go to high school, I have a girlfriend, and all this type of stuff, and how he tries to do all that stuff, and how he occasionally or very often actually fails to balance it. But before I move on from that, Dallas wanted me to ask what you guys in particular think of. There's a character on the show called Battle Beast.
What?
Yes, there's a character called Battle Beast.
Hold on, hold on. I will look this up in order to give you thoughts. I have a feeling I know exactly where this is going because
Oh
it's
goodness,
Dallas
I'm
and it's
afraid.
me and it's Gabby,
I'm a little bit afraid.
but
That's a
Image Comics
lion.
database.
What would
So he's
do
like
you
a
want to know?
Leonin dude with a sword.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
technically a copyrighted property, but
He's a
whatever.
lion.
he is a
Yeah, it kind of
lion.
reminds me of Thundercats, which I was never into, so whatever. He's a guy.
He's a guy.
I mean, I don't know anything about him. He's a dude.
He's
I'm
just
sure
a
he probably
he's a
kills people and
big
it's probably bloody and gross and I wouldn't enjoy it.
big buff
Oh yeah, that
lion
comic
dude.
panel is just tons of blood. Yeah, not my shit.
Ooh, this is a lot. I'm a little bit nervous by this show, which is a bummer because it seems like it's like fun to watch or like hilarious in some sections.
In some
But
ways, yeah.
If you put Battle Beast into Google, you do not get him, you get a band.
I know. I looked that up earlier too,
interesting.
and I was like, "What? What is this?" But yeah, that's Invincible. Also, it I was saying it's really bloody earlier. Literally every single time the title card pops up, more blood gets splattered onto it. So,
Gross.
Oh, oh,
yeah.
I don't like that.
Yeah. Show is fantastic though, and you guys can find it on Amazon Prime. And I wish Dallas was here to talk about it with me cuz Dallas likes it. Like Dallas was waiting for me to finally watch it. So, I really wanted to
Yeah, of
talk
all
to
the
him about it.
episodes to miss,
Yeah,
you
the
know?
the episode where I'm talking about it. Maybe he'll bring it up again in a different episode and me and him can talk about it together.
I mean, if y'all wanted, y'all could just do an episode where you reviewed it.
I mean, or
Like,
yeah,
that's
or we'll
possible.
just wait for season 2 maybe because it did already
Okay.
get renewed for a season 2 and a season 3.
And 3. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Cool.
So, Gabby, what's your next show?
My next show is Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist.
I was told
Ooh,
recently
let's
I should
talk
check that
about
out.
this. Have you
Ooh,
been watching season 2? Because I gave up on season 2.
not yet. I'm still
Okay.
halfway through season 1,
Because
but
season 1
it's
was a banger and season
yeah.
2 was not my shit. So I'll be
Oh,
really interested to hear how you feel about it.
okay. I will tell you when I get to season 2.
Cool.
Because right now I am still on season 1, but it's
Mhm.
amazing so far, and I really like
It's
it.
so great.
Okay, so really quick, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist was created by Austin Winsberg. It stars Jane Levy, Skylar Austin, Alex Newell, John Clarence Stewart, Peter Gallagher, Mary Stenberg, Lauren Graham, Andrew Leeds, Alice Lee, Michael Thomas Grant, and Kapil Talwalkar. I'm so sorry, Kapil. Anyway, so Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is about Zoe Clark, a programmer who has been recently promoted to engineering manager at San Francisco-based SPRQ Point, a tech firm specializing in smart devices and apps. An earthquake occurs while she is getting an MRI, and a huge playlist of songs on file is downloaded into her brain. She subsequently discovers her mind can now perceive the innermost thoughts of others in the form of popular songs and dance. So basically,
That's not what that I thought that show was about at all.
oh, it's wild. It's basically like everyone around her starts singing their feelings, and she's the only one that can see it. And so she knows how everybody around her feels about everything. And of course, it's delivered in these really great popular songs. And she's like this programmer. It's really great. It's amazing. And all the other people around her are singing the songs, right? Oh, it's such a cute show. I love it so much. I do tend to like musical shows though. Like I loved Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I was super into Glee until I was like, maybe this isn't for me. Um,
Yeah, that's basically every fan of Glee ever, including the cast themselves, were like, maybe this isn't for me.
I quit really early on Glee though. I quit like halfway through season 2, I think.
I quit
That was
Like
halfway
probably
I
through
quit
wise, to be
season
honest.
I
4.
quit real early and then I would go back and like read stuff on like BuzzFeed about Glee and I'd be like, "Oof, dodged a bullet there."
Yo,
Like
so 2 of the cast members of Glee actually have their own podcast, and it's absolutely hilarious to listen to them talk about the old days of working on Glee. They bring on a lot of their old co-stars to come talk on the show about
Oh
it. It's
wow.
hilarious. It's called Showmance, I think.
Ooh. Who are the
It's Kevin McHale and Jenna Uskowicz.
I don't know that
Oh,
person.
they played Artie and Tina on the show.
Oh. Oh, okay. Got it. Great. Yeah, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is extremely different from Glee. Other than the popular songs. Like Glee did a lot of popular songs. Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist does the same thing. Crazy Ex-Girlfriend was all original songs, and they were all amazing and great. But and kind of silly in a great way. Jane Levy does like this really great job of, well, she's kind of like this shy programmer. When everyone around her starts singing, it just kind of makes her a little bit like, what is going on with my life? And she does a really good job of kind of like convincing you, well, I don't know, or like, bringing you on this journey with you. She's a good lead is what I'm trying to get at. She's like quiet and, how do I put it? Because the big musical numbers involve a lot of her reaction, but she still does a good job of like kind of giving the person that whose musical number it is like space to kind of like have their moment, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Or like that's the way that the show is like shown. Oh, it's really great. Some of the musical numbers, it's just like they break your heart, even though it's like a popular song that might be so popular that it's reached like a point of cheesiness, but like it's arranged in a way that you're like, oh, so many feelings. And what I also like is it's like the actors aren't necessarily singers because it's everybody in the world singing their feelings, right? Which means the songs aren't necessarily going to be like amazingly sung, but they're still done in a way that you're like, oh, I like this. This is very cute. And even if the singing's not perfect, you're still having a good time, if that makes sense. I don't know. What do you think, Colin? Like, help me, please. I feel like I'm floundering.
I mean, you don't have to flounder. You're just talking about a show and why you like it. Like, I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like, I think what it is that because when I heard about the concept of the show, my thought was it was probably going to be cheesy because that just seems like it would be. But there's something about it. I think because the songs serve a purpose. I mean, I guess they did sometimes in Glee too, but I don't know. Glee just kind of felt like surface level in a way that this doesn't. Like Zoe's, I think, does a better job of like, no, there's actually a serious issue here. We happen to be exploring it through like a pop song, but then after the song, there's the whole episode is like, no, we're actually exploring this issue, so it
Yeah.
works.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. Or what I like about it also is just like the song, sometimes it's obvious what it is, and sometimes it's like, okay, let's dig a little bit deeper. What could this mean? Ah, it's so good. And like it's just a really good show. It's you right in the feeling. And it's various different things. Like sometimes it's like her father has a kind of debilitating disease where he can't speak anymore, and her mother feels like there's like a disconnect between herself and her father, and then because everybody can kind of sing and dance to her, including her father who can no longer speak, she's able to like communicate to her mother that her dad still sees her, he still wants to spend time with her, he's just literally incapable of vocalizing it. That was one of the episodes where I was like so sweet. Just because like, it's hard for families that have people going through very difficult illnesses where they start losing motor functions. It's really difficult, and it was an interesting way to explore that in a television program. Like that's, I don't think I've seen that necessarily done in this way. That was really interesting, and then it makes you just like really cry a little bit. You're just like, dad. Anyway, yeah, so that's Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. I highly recommend it. I don't think season 1 is streaming anymore, but season 2 is on Hulu.
Nice. All right. So before I realized that this was going to be our last quarantine watch for television, I had a specific theme in mind that I was going to be doing for the episode. Here's where the theme begins. All right. You guys ready? Let's do this. One of the theme in my next show on the list is Pacific
Mhm.
Rim The Black, which you guys can find on Netflix. The show stars Gideon Adlon and Callum Worthy. After kaiju ravage Australia, two siblings pilot a Jaeger to search for their parents, encountering new creatures, seedy characters, and chance allies. Colin, you probably never finished this show, did you?
No.
I need
I
Colin.
didn't. I watched one episode and then never got back to
I
it.
need you to go back to it.
I I will, I swear. I just the problem is that my nights are usually reserved for watching movies with the Bye Babes. So,
I
like, I don't
need
wanna
you.
start anything else because 'cause I'm doing that, and we have
I
so many
need
movies on the
you to
fucking
finish
list.
this show because I need to talk to you about the lore expansion. Anyway, this is a much better continuation of the Pacific Rim film and franchise. I loved the references to the first movie. And as I was saying, it makes a really interesting expansion on the lore. And it made me wonder if Del Toro had any hand in the development of this show because I want to know what he thinks about what
Which
they've done.
feels like a question that you should be able to answer. Like, is he credited on it at all?
He's not, but then I look up articles and it looks like he was helping with development, so I don't know.
Oh.
So I really wanna know what I want a confirmed answer to if anybody out there knows, please let me know because I am super curious. I am wondering where the show is going to go next, and I love Pacific Rim so much, and I just felt like this show really kind of stayed true to the aesthetic and kind of the heart of Pacific Rim. And I really liked the animation style, especially the Jaegers. Like, ugh, it just felt right. I was just like, yeah, those are Jaegers. This is it.
That was something I did notice. In the one episode I did see, I don't even remember the circumstances, but there's a Jaeger that gets crushed, and it gets crushed in, I think, the exact same way that a Jaeger gets crushed in the first movie. And it was like, hey, attention to detail. Love that for me.
Yeah, it feels like Pacific Rim so much more than the second Pacific Rim movie did.
Mm.
Ugh, I'm just so happy about it. I was just watching the show, and it's a very short show. It's only 8 episodes, and they're all like a half hour. Watching the show, I just was really just like, "Oh, man, this feels like Pacific Rim," and it feels like the Pacific Rim that I've been missing. So, if you guys like the first Pacific Rim movie, or if you like the second one too, I don't know, you might like this one too. You guys can check out Pacific Rim: The Black on Netflix. Gabby, what's your next show?
Oh, my next show is The Great North. I don't know if I've talked about it on here before.
Doesn't sound
I
familiar.
I don't
Okay, cool, cool, cool,
yeah.
cool. Great.
And
Okay.
if you have, oops.
Oh well. Okay. So The Great North is created by Lizzie Molino Logelin and Wendy Molino and Minty Lewis. It stars the voices of Nick Offerman, Jenny Slate, Will Forte, Dulce Sloan, Paul Rust, Aparna Nancherla, Megan Mullally, and Alanis Morissette. It is about Beef Tobin is a single father living in the fictional town of Lone Moose, Alaska, with his four children, Wolf, Ham, Judy, and Moon. Beef's life is centered on raising his children and keeping the family together. He is sometimes overbearing and smothering, but his deep love for his family is a central theme in each episode in the series. It is drawn in the style of Bob's Burgers. It's adorable and I love it so much. And it's kind of got that sort of like Bob's Burgers, kind of wacky family closeness. And also like children centric antics with like the parents having to kind of pick up the slack. And it because it takes place in Alaska, there's a lot of like winter related silly things. Like at one point there's like a fair and like sledding and it's just like it's like Christmas forever on that show is what I like about it. Because there's just like always snow and stuff. It's super cute. I love that Dulce Sloan is in it. I love her. She's one of my favorite comedians, stand-up comedians like ever. And it's just like a cute, quirky show from people that used to write for Bob's Burgers, or I believe they still might write for Bob's Burgers. It's so good. It's so sweet, and I love it. It's hilarious. Please watch it. It's on Hulu. I think it comes out on Fox, but it's on Hulu right now.
Nice. Okay. So, continuing on with my theme, the next show on my list is The Promised Neverland, which you can find on Netflix. Well, the first season is on Netflix, or you can watch all of it on Hulu. The show stars Sumire Murahoshi, Maria Issei, and Maya Uchida, or Erica Mendez, Laura Meganstall, and Jeannie Torrado as Emma, Ray, and Norman, depending on if you're watching it with subs or if you're watching a dub. Yes, this is an anime. So, when three
Makes
gifted
sense.
kids at an isolated, idyllic orphanage discover the secret and sinister purpose they were raised for, they look for a way to escape from their evil caretaker and lead the other children in a risky escape plan.
Ooh.
I love the first season of this show. Oh my gosh. It is such an interesting and somewhat messed up story, especially season one. It uses suspense and it reveals information so well. I love how much season one feels like a puzzle as you follow the main trio to figure out how to come up with a plan of escape. Like, it feels like you're really inside these kids' heads trying to figure out how we're going to escape and trying to go up against these adults who are clearly smarter than us because they're adults, but we have to make a way out of this.
Fun fact, I watched one episode of that show and very quickly noped out.
I loved it. I loved it so much. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
we are very different people.
That first episode had me so intrigued because I was like, "I'm sorry, what? What is
See, that's the
happening?"
thing is like there's a level of intrigue that I can get down with, but when you get to what happens at the end of that episode, I was like, no, I don't
Oh,
want to see where this is going.
it's so absolutely messed up, and I was along for the journey. The villains are pretty creepy throughout, but what I love is that they managed to make you hate the villains, but they also managed to make you feel a lot of sympathy for them. The season finale of season 1 had me so messed up because of the villain and not because of the kids themselves. I love all of the kids. I love that Emma, Ray, and Norman are so different from one another, but I also love the rest of the kids that they're trying to save. They're all so cute and they're all so naive, but also some of them are just trying to help, and it's great. I love it. They managed to really keep the innocence of these children while putting them through a really, really tough time. Season 2 just does not hit as well as season 1 because it seems to jump from set piece to set piece, unlike the first season. And like the pacing is just so off because it's going by the story beats so fast. I literally just finished the final episode of season 2. Also discovered that it's the series finale, not the season finale, because when you get
Surprise.
yeah, well, when I got to the end, I was like, "Wait, this is an ending. This isn't like." I was like, "You could have made 2 or 3 seasons out of this one season alone had you just slowed it down and just like you did the first season." I mean, I still really enjoyed watching the kids' story unfold, but I really wish that they had just kinda slowed it down and just like they did with the first season, 'cause it became a lot less clever and a lot less cerebral in the second season.
Mm.
But the animation is great. I love the animation on the show, and season 2 has its issues, but season 1, man, if you just watch season 1 is amazing. It is so great. But yeah, that is The Promised Neverland, and as I said, you can find the first season on Netflix or you can watch both seasons on Hulu. Gabby, do you have another show on your list?
I do.
Alright, what you
I have
got?
2 more shows on my list.
Nice.
Yay. Okay. So my next show was just recently placed on HBO Max, and it is The Nanny.
Oh my gosh, I started rewatching that show too.
Isn't it amazing?
I love The Nanny. The Nanny is one of my favorite
Dude,
sitcoms ever.
dude, I didn't realize how oh my god, so many cleverly written one-liners
So
just
funny.
peppered across every episode. Hilarious. Love it so much. And so I went on the Wikipedia page to learn more about this show, and I will tell you some great info about it in just a minute. Okay. So first of all, The Nanny was created by Fran Drescher and Peter Mark Jacobson. It stars Fran Drescher, Charles Shaughnessy, Daniel Davis, Lauren Lane, Nicole Tom, Benjamin Salisbury, Madeline Zima, Renee Taylor, Anne Morgan Gilbert, and Rachel Chagall. So I found out from the Wikipedia page that Fran Drescher was on a flight next to an executive from CBS, and she convinced him to let her pitch him a show during the flight. And he was like,
Nice.
sure. But she didn't actually have an idea for a show.
Oh, that's
So
how that
she and
works.
her husband were like trying to come up with like ideas for a show, and then she went shopping with one of her friends' daughters in like France, like really fancy shopping. And she realized that she was like giving like from her upbringing in like Queens, she would give her like all this advice like with the practicality of Queens. And she called her husband and she's like, I think we can do a show with like I'm a nanny for some rich kids, and like I come kind of out of nowhere in like a Sound of Music sort of way, but like with the Jewish and like Queen's undertones.
Yeah.
And her husband's like, I think we can do that. And they pitched that to NBC, or not NBC, CBS. And then they were like, oh my God, this is a great idea. Let's do it. And then while he was watching episodes of the show with his family, the same executive was like, oh my God, this is a hit. And he ordered a full 22 episode first season.
Nice.
So that's why in like one of the episodes, like Fran's on a plane and she starts talking to this executive because that's what actually happened. Like that's how she got the show.
God, I've loved that show since I was a child. I've loved that
Yes,
show
me
since I was
too. It
a
used
child.
to come
It's
out on
so
like Nick
good.
at Night, right? Or
Even before that, even before then, like I would go to the East Coast to visit my grandparents, and it was like one of the few shows that I would ever catch on TV because they didn't have cable. So I would watch it, and it was
oh,
like one of my favorite things to watch whenever I would go to the East Coast. It like became a staple of my trips to the East Coast was that I would watch The Nanny.
nice. Yeah, I watched it on like Nick at Night
Used to
when I was
watch
a
it on
kid,
Nick
or
at
like
Night too.
TV Land. It was like on reruns or something.
Yep.
And it was amazing, but I missed a lot of the jokes as a child and I'm enjoying it so much more now.
Niles
It's
is the
super
best.
hilarious. Niles and Cece together.
The
Also, I
best.
love, yes, amazing. And I love how much like Niles loves Fran. Like his jokes are still a little catty, but like he loves her versus like he hates Cece. Oh, it's so good. And like they keep doing these, like right now I'm on season 2. They keep doing these jokes where like clearly Mr. Sheffield and Fran should be together
Oh yeah, they're
according
so
to
into each
everybody
other.
feels like it.
Everybody knows it.
They are. But like they keep doing these great things where she's like, all I want is in a man is like somebody that I can get along with, that I have so many things in common. And it always inevitably Mr. Sheffield comes into the room while she's talking like that and he goes, you know that thing that we both like? It's so funny. But like it's done way more cleverly on the
Yeah,
show.
and there was
Super
also I think
great.
there's an episode in season 2 or maybe it's season 3 actually. I can't remember which season I'm on because I just sometimes I'll watch it while I'm editing these episodes.
Yeah.
There's an episode where he goes on a date with somebody and it's just Fran
It's the
basically,
first
but
episode of season 2.
there we go. Yeah, I was like it's like season
Yeah.
2 or season 3 and he goes on a date and it's just Fran. Like it's just
Yeah.
and Fran can't see it and the other girl can't see it, but everybody else around them is like, "Are you kidding me?"
She's a carbon copy of it. But what I also like about the episode is like Fran is just a good person.
Yes.
She wasn't like catty or mean to this woman. She was like, "Oh my god, you're so great. I love you." Which also shows that like Fran likes herself.
Oh yeah, she loves herself. Lots of self-love there.
Yeah, I love it. It's just such a good influence and she's just so great with the kids. Like, ugh, I love the show so much. It's so fun. It's so delightful. It's just like a good mood show.
I gotta find this tweet that I found earlier. I was literally looking at a tweet about The Nanny earlier today. Somebody
Oh,
tweeted, "My favorite thing about The Nanny is that it could have easily been a she learned as much from them as they learned from her situation, but no, Fran did not need to learn anything. The Nanny taught us that
good.
loud Jewish women are perfect just the way we are, and for that, it's groundbreaking."
Yeah. But it makes sense because it was developed by a Jewish woman.
Yeah, but it's also just great because, like, yeah, Fran doesn't learn anything along the way. Fran is great the way she is, and she doesn't have to learn anything along the way. And that family needed her. She never needed
Yeah,
them. And like, oh, it's just
exactly.
such a good show. It's such a
It's
good
so
show.
great.
Oh, I
Ugh,
love that
love it
show.
so
A
much. Love
great sitcom.
her. Yes.
Also, during the
Ugh.
quarantine, they did a live stream where they did a table read of the first ever episode. And it's just so funny to watch them do it. Like, because the kids are grown now.
Yeah, they're
So they're
adults.
adults, so it's funny to watch the adult children go through their lines from when they were
Yeah.
kids.
I want to watch the one that's like the little girl just going like, "We took a walk through my childhood."
Was that
The
episode 1? That might have been
therapist.
episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'll send it to you because it's absolutely hilarious
Oh,
to watch her do that as
so
an
great.
adult. Also, I think they got the woman who actually sang the theme song, which, by the way, that theme song is one of the greatest sitcom theme songs of all time. They
It's
got the
so
woman to
great.
sing it on the live stream.
Yes. Also, so I was like showing this show to my boyfriend. He'd never watched it before.
Oh,
And
so
he
good.
was like, "What is the show about?" And I was like, "Literally, the theme song tells you everything you need to know."
And it's so
I was like,
clever.
"You just have to listen to it." Yes. Oh, love it
M
so much.
Me and my friend
Oh,
were on the phone I think I started singing one line from that theme song, and I kid you not, me and her could not stop singing the song until we got to the end of the song because
It's
you
so
just
clever. I don't
can't
know all the
stop.
words to it though, but it's
Oh,
so good.
I think I have that song memorized.
Oh my god, I love
I
it.
I
She
think I
was
know that.
working at a bridal shop.
In Flushing, Queens until her boyfriend kicked her out in one of those crushing
And with
scenes.
those crushing scenes.
Yeah. What's she to do? Where
Oh,
was
I
she to
love
go?
it.
She was out on her fanny. Such a good
Penny.
show. Such a good show. Such a good song.
Oh, love it so much.
Could
It's
talk about
super
the
and
nanny
it's super
forever.
funny. Yes, and we should, but off mic.
Yeah. Fran and
Yeah, so
Mr.
that's my
Sheffield
show.
was one of my first ships ever in life as a
Ship
child.
it so hard. Oh my god. I can't wait. And this was one of those this was at a point in time where TV shows were really afraid of putting characters together. So I feel like they're like delaying it right now. But I can't wait to see them together. I'm super excited
They're
for it.
probably the reason I love a good slow burn.
Yeah. And this one's a real slow burn. I don't even know when they get together. All I remember from
But it's
watching it
worth it when it
when I was a
happens.
kid that they do eventually. Yeah. Well, they've already kissed like twice because like they were Fran was like gonna be Juliet in like a
Yes.
play
I watched
and he was
that one
helping her
recently.
and I was like, "Ooh." I think we're probably right around the same
We
part.
probably are, and I watch it whenever I'm editing. So when I'm editing this episode, most likely I will be watching The Nanny at the same time.
Yeah, and I just put it on TV because I'm just like watching it right now and I enjoy it so much. It's so amazing.
I'm
Ugh,
so happy that
love it.
HBO
Love
Max
it,
put
love
it
it,
on
love it,
their
love it.
streaming service because I've been waiting years to just be able to watch The Nanny again.
Yeah, me too. I'm so happy. I love it so much. It's so good. It's so delightful. It's such a feel good show. The one liners are like amazing. Fran is hilarious. And her style, oh my God. If I start dressing like her, don't mind me. I'm
Girl, if you
just
start
watching
dressing
that
like her, you better
nanny too
do
much.
you. You better do you. Fran Fine is a fashion icon.
I know. She's so good. It's so good. And like a lot of it is just like the clothes is perfectly tailored. So it literally doesn't matter what the pattern is on it. If it's perfectly tailored, it's going to
It
look
looks good
amazing.
on her, no matter what.
Mhm.
Such a good show.
Ugh,
On
love
HBO
it
Max, go watch The Nanny
on
if you've
HBO.
never seen it because it's great.
Yes.
All right, the next show on my list, we're going in a completely different direction. Next show on my list is Demon Slayer, which you can watch on Netflix. The show stars, yes, Colin, I see you about to say something.
This just in, where most of the rest of us went through our weeb phase in high school,
Shut up.
Demi is doing it now. And as somebody who went through it in high school and has now moved past it, it is fascinating to watch.
Yeah, shout out to Chaz, who is the head writer in my writer's room. He's the reason I've been watching a lot of anime recently. Demon Slayer stars, and I hope I'm getting these people's names right, by the way. It stars Natsuki Hane, Akari Kito, Hiro Shimono, and Yoshitsugu Matsuoka, or Zach Aguilar, Abby Trott, Alex Lay, and Bryce Papenbrook as Tanjiro, Nezuko, Zenitsu, and Inosuke. A family is attacked by demons and only two members survive, Tanjiro and his sister Nezuko, who is turning into a demon slowly. Tanjiro sets out to become a demon slayer to avenge his family and cure his sister. The show is just really freaking awesome. I love that it takes its time to tell Tanjiro's story. Like I feel like a lot of shows would have gone a lot more quickly with the story that they're telling about him and his journey through all of this. And I think that this one really takes its time to give you every step in the journey instead of skipping over anything, which I think is cool. And it also that just seems to be a characteristic of most animes that I've been watching anyway. I love their demon slaying forms. They look so sick, and I love getting to see the characters use them. The main trio of demon slayers have like this really amusing dynamic because they're all so different. Tanjiro is just really like this kind of he's like your hero boy, he really is out to do good and really wants to do right by his sister. And then you've got Inosuke, who is just wild and out of control, and he wears like a boar's head on his head, so he's just like he is this beastly animalistic type of guy, and he wants you to take him real like seriously, and he's just wild and out of control. And then you've got Zenitsu, who is very scared of everything. but he is so talented once he's fallen asleep. And it's just this really interesting dynamic between the three of them, as well as having Nezuko in there. I think my only flaw with the show is that I feel like they treat Nezuko a lot like a pet and less so like a sister. And I kind of wish they would not do that, but I do still really love this show. The demons on the show often look really creepy and they all have really interesting and unique abilities. And I cannot wait for season two. Immediately after I finished watching season one on Netflix, I knew that I needed to see the movie that just came out, and thankfully I did. Tune in next week and you guys will probably hear me talk about that. But yeah, that is Demon Slayer. Gabby, do you have another one?
I do have one. The last one I have is Final Space. It is created by Olin Rogers with the voices of Olin Rogers, Fred Armisen, Tom Kenny, David Tennant, Tika Sumpter, Steve Yoon, Cody Galloway, Caleb McLaughlin, Ron Perlman, John DiMaggio, Gina Torres, Shannon Purser, Keith David, Andy Reichter, Conan O'Brien, Ashley Birch, Claudia Black, Ron Funches, and Jane Lynch. There are 2 seasons out. Season 3 started airing in March. I'm like starting season 2 right now, finished season 1, and it's it's so good. But let me like really quick tell you what it's about. Final Space is about Gary Goodspeed, who's this like boisterous, inept astronaut who is working off the last few days of his 5-year sentence aboard the prison ship Galaxy One. And what makes the show interesting is it starts with Gary talking to the AI that runs the Galaxy One called Hugh. And Hugh is telling Gary that he has 8 minutes until his oxygen runs out. And that's where the show starts. The entire first season is you arriving at that point where Gary's running out of oxygen, and you find out what led up to that point. And each episode starts with Gary talking with Hugh, and he has one less minute left of oxygen. And you're just kind of like building up to that point. And it's like compelling, it's sad, it's goofy AF. So good. But yeah, it's an animated series. It stars all those amazing people. It's just really, really good. It will rip your heart out though. So just be careful like when you're watching it. It's so good though. I think it was originally on TBS, but you can find it on HBO now. And I think it's produced under like Conan O'Brien's production company. Super good, super sad, super, super funny. And I just want to like hold every single person that's on the show because oh, such tragedy, but also such hilarity. Anyway, that's Final Space.
Cool, cool, cool. My next show on my list, it's not the last show on my list, but it's the next show on my list, is Seis Manos, which is on Netflix. Another show I wish that Dallas was here to talk to me about. I'm going to keep it short
Yeah.
though, because Dallas has already discussed this show on another episode, which I'm going to try and look back and find which episode it was so that I can link it for all you YouTube watchers. But yeah, Seis Manos
Yeah.
stars Vic Chow, Mike Coulter, Johnny Cruz, Ashlyn Derbez, and Danny Trejo. Orphans raised
Ooh.
by a martial arts master are plunged into a mystery involving demonic powers, drug cartels, ancient rituals, and blood sacrifice. It's a really cool show. It's not what I expected it to be, even though Dallas has talked about this show before. The fight scenes are super dope, obviously. Anime fight scenes are just super dope in general. I love the animation because it's done by Powerhouse Animation Studios, and Powerhouse is one of my favorite studios right now. I love their character designs. I love the way that they draw things. I'm a huge fan of Castlevania and Blood of Zeus, which are two other shows that they've done the animation for. So I just really love their style. Silencio is my favorite character. Yes, I am that girl. I love him so much. And I just want good things for him, but that doesn't seem to be happening anytime soon. Yeah, it's another one of those shows that I'm really curious to see where it goes next, because a lot of the characters went through so much in season 1. They are different people than they were when the season first began. Especially Silencio. I'm actually kind of scared for him, and I love him so much. Like I said, I just want good things for him, but that's probably not going to happen. So yeah, that is Seis Manos, which you guys can find on Netflix. Gabby, you don't have another show, do you?
I do not. That was my last one.
Cool, cool, cool. So I'm gonna finish this off, and I'm gonna hope that I can get Colin involved in this conversation, because my last show on my list is My Hero Academia, which you guys can find
Oh.
on Hulu. The show stars Daiki Yamashita, Nobuhiko Okamoto, Ayane Sakura, Kaito Ishikawa, and Kenta Miyake, or Justin Briner, Clifford Chapin, Lucy Christian, J. Michael Tatum, and Christopher Sabat as Izuku Midoriya, Katsuki Bakugo, Achoko Uraraka, Tenya Ida, and All Might. In a world populated with superhumans, the superhero loving Izuku Midoriya is without power. However, after the quirkless dreamer Izuku inherits the powers of the world's best superhero, All Might, his hopes of becoming the top hero are now possible. Once enrolled in the High School for Heroes, UA, Izuku soon discovers being a hero is much more complicated than it appears. This is my favorite anime that I have gotten into so far. It is probably
Yeah.
one of my favorite pieces of superhero media that I've ever seen.
See, this is the thing about My Hero is that like I feel like there has been or there is building a wave of like superheroes, but they're not happy about it. And that's like Invincible, that's Jupiter's Legacy, that's the other one I can't think of right now, The Boys. And it's just like, man, I do not fuck with this at all. But My Hero is like exactly my thing because it's like, nah, they're heroes and they like being heroes and I'm about it.
Well, the thing is with Invincible, he is a hero who wants to be a hero. It's just that things just do not go the way
I'm
that
mostly
he
thinking
wants them
about
to.
like the end of the first episode. Just like that right there. I haven't even seen it and I know I'm never going to watch it because it's just like that is not my thing at all.
See, because well, that's the thing though, because that's no, that's a plot twist, I think. Because episode one makes it seem like it's one thing, but then you get to the end of the series and it's something completely different, which we can talk about off mic. But yeah, I do. But like Colin was saying, I do love that My Hero Academia is like the most optimistic form of superhero you can possibly get. All of these kids genuinely want to be superheroes. It's one of the things that like I know Bakugo is one of those characters who is easy to dislike because he is aggressive. He is constantly just baiting people. He's just kind of he's a mean person. Just in general, he is a mean person. But I'm never concerned as to whether or not Bakugo is going to become a villain or not because I truly believe that he does want to be a hero. And I think that's one of the best things about his character is that while he can be this significantly terrible person, he does genuinely want to be a hero. And I
But
love
see, the
that.
thing about him though is I think the question that needs to be asked with him specifically is not do you want to be a hero or do you want to be a villain,
It's
but
why.
why? Yeah, and that's why I don't like him because I feel like like you don't have to want to be a hero. A lot of people don't want to be heroes, don't want to save the world, but if you have decided that that is what you want and you want that reputation, I feel like you have to actually like have those ideals and he doesn't.
But I think that's what's so interesting about My Hero Academia as a show, and they bring it up on the show as well, is that everybody has a different motivation as to why they want to be heroes. Midoriya's motivation is that he legitimately does want to be a hero. He does legitimately want to help people. But then you've got characters like Uraraka, who is like, I want to be a hero because I want to financially support my family. It's another job because in this universe, being a superhero isn't just being a superhero. It's no, this is a job, which is another fascinating element of the show, in my opinion.
I think what it is for me is that to me, heroism implies some form of altruism.
Yes,
So even Ochako, she's not doing it because she wants to get wealthy. She's doing it because she wants to support the people back home. So even that, right, there is a level of like, I am doing this for other people. Or if you're Ida, it's a legacy thing.
yes.
Or if you're Todoroki, you just have daddy issues. But you know, it's like as long as
Todoroki's is
there's
also a legacy thing, though. Just like on the
yeah, I
opposite
just
spectrum of Ida's.
that boy is boring. But anyway,
I love
it's just like
Todoroki.
yeah, of course you do. You're boring. But
I am not.
no, you're not. But like, yeah, that's my thing is that I feel like heroism should imply some level of altruism that Bakugo never really has.
Yeah. I am curious. I do like the question of asking why Bakugo wants to be a hero because he does have this deep like hero idolization of All Might, who is the epitome of what it means to be a hero. So it is like, why is I think the question then becomes why is All Might your hero? Why to you is he the best hero of all of them? Because Bakugo is nothing like All Might in that. It's I love there's the episode that's Midoriya versus Bakugo where they have that fight on campus. I
Mhm.
love that episode because they are almost the two sides of the All Might coin where it seems like Midoriya wants to be a hero because he appreciates All Might's altruism, and Bakugo wants to be like All Might because he likes his power and his status as a hero.
Mhm.
And I like that those two characters are kind of the opposite sides of that.
Mhm.
Moving forward, though, I think that Midoriya is just, speaking of characters, almost all of them are wonderful. I do agree with you about Mineta. Oh my god. But like
Thank you.
but like Midoriya is a fantastic protagonist because he's so likable and you really want him to succeed. Oh my gosh, he's so great. But the other characters also get enough screen time and personality that like you can like them too, even if you don't know that much about them.
I think my favorite thing that I did not notice when I watched it myself, and I don't remember exactly where it is, but there's a bit where like you see class 1A, like they're taking a bunch of pictures, you just get a bunch of different scenes of them, and in every single one, like they're all just doing whatever, but the dude who fires lasers from his belly is like directly looking at the camera and making a silly face
Oh,
every single time.
Aoyami, I believe his name is.
I love him so much. He's terrible,
He is,
but
but
I love
it's
him.
fantastic. Yeah, it's
Like
so
Midoriya to
great.
me is great, but he is the textbook example of you are the protagonist and I don't care about you as much as I care about everybody around you.
I think that's what it is. But the thing is about Midoriya is that I think that he is so nice of a person that I'm like, yeah, he could be somebody's favorite character. He's not necessarily my
Mhm.
favorite character, but I am still rooting for him to
Yeah,
succeed, and I
he's
don't want
not
bad things
boring.
to
I don't
happen to him.
dislike him at all.
Yeah,
He's
he's
great. I
fantastic.
just like the other people more.
Yeah, exactly. I have that same feeling about Midoriya because, like I told you, I love Todoroki. You think that's a boring answer, but I have not entered this fandom enough to know that. I love Yayorozu. Momo is great, man.
Oh,
I
Momo's
love
excellent.
Yayorozu. I love Ida. I love Tokoyami. I genuinely
Interesting.
love just about
I
all
feel like
of
there's not enough of Tokoyami to love him, but hey,
I
you do
l
you.
I love
Then
Tokoyami.
again, my favorite is Jiro, and she's never in anything
That's true, Jiro never gets but I also really
except for
like
season
Hiro.
4, motherfucker. I felt so vindicated.
Yeah, but I also love Kirishima.
Oh, he is the best boy. I love him so
He's
much.
so cool. Like, I honestly love just about all of Class 1A except for Mineta because Mineta is literally just a perv.
A
Like,
pervert.
that's
Yeah.
just that's
Like
the only personality trait Mineta has. But I love all of these people and I love all these characters. Even if I don't get to see a lot of them, I still know what their
mhm,
personalities are, though. This show has somehow managed to do that so well. And like I said about Demon Slayer, I love that it takes its time with telling the story. So the episode may not even be about Midoriya. Sometimes, like when you go to like the sports festival, which was one of the things I loved, because if you were watching this on another TV show, you would only follow Midoriya's story through the sports festival. But on My Hero Academia, we get to follow every character. Like we get to watch all of their battles and all of the different rounds and thing that all the characters are going through. Even if it has nothing to do with Midoriya, we get to watch these characters grow outside of him. And I think that's really great. And they do it with like almost every arc on the show. And it's so much fun. And that's why you can kind of grow with all of the characters, even outside of Midoriya himself. But yeah, My Hero Academia is freaking fantastic. I am completely caught up on the show and I love it so much.
oof, I am not. I might honestly need to start it over. Just because it's great, like, and because I've forgotten just a lot of different shit. Like, I don't even remember how things resolved with the sort of villain from last season who wasn't really a villain.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yeah, I'm already
Yeah,
on season 2 of a rewatch of that show. So,
I think I need to start it.
yeah, it's so great. It's so good. And I've been interested in getting into it ever since you had it on your favorite TV shows list, I want to
Mm-hmm.
say, a few
Mm-hmm.
years back. I don't know if it was your favorite TV. It couldn't have been favorite TV shows. It was like your favorite character or something like that.
Some, yeah, I think it was like all of class 1A because I couldn't pick a person.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
So, but it was on one of your lists, and I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
I just specifically remembered you talking about it, and I just never got around to watching it. But now I've gotten into it, and I'm like, oh, this show is so good.
Mm-hmm.
So good stuff. Good stuff. Gabby and Dallas should also watch My Hero Academia. I think Gabby would just. Gabby, I think you would genuinely just like all of these characters. I think that you would
Ooh.
find them fantastic.
Hmm. It's on Netflix
It's on Hulu. You can watch the whole
or
thing on Hulu.
it's on Hulu. Hulu's where it's at.
And
Okay.
the first 4 seasons
I'm gonna
are
check it out.
dubbed. If you would like to watch it dubbed, season 5 is currently only subbed.
You can also, if you want to watch it subbed, you can also borrow my Crunchyroll account
It's
and
also
use
it's
that.
subbed on
That's where I
Hulu
watch it.
too.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, you can watch
Yeah.
it either way on Hulu. It's just that season 5 currently does
Nice.
not have a dub.
Right.
That makes sense.
'Cause it's
Yeah.
still
Okay.
airing.
Yeah. So, but it's been a lot of fun getting into this show. So that is my anime section of the quarantine watch, but also that's the end of our quarantine watch. Thank you guys for joining us
Yay.
this past year or so as we've been telling you guys all the things that we've been watching so that you guys can, possibly have new things to watch. Oh, Dallas isn't here, which means I have to do his thing.
Oh.
Yay.
Yes, thank you to those at Crown Digital, Brandon and Io, for putting us up on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I'm not going to thank myself because that is weird. Thank you, Colin, for it's funny, Colin engaged in this episode a lot more than he thought he would, because we said he wasn't going to be in this episode at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were like an active participant.
He was indeed.
Well, on rare occasions we talk about things I'm actually really invested in, so here we are.
I kind of knew that I was going to get Colin with this episode, though, because I was like, a bunch of these shows I know that Colin likes. I'm going to get him in on this
Yeah.
one. Thank you, Gabby, for joining me to talk about our favorite TV shows and going over our normal TV show limit.
Yeah.
And for bringing in the sitcom and romance and musical portions of television shows, because all my stuff was
My
basically action,
brand.
fantasy, superhero stuff.
Yeah, my brand.
Your brand. And then I was super on my brand.
Actually, come to think of it, Gabby,
Yeah.
was there a single period piece on your list?
No.
Because that to me is your brand. I mean,
That's
rom-coms,
one
yes,
of my
but also
brands.
It's definitely one of the
Yeah,
brands.
no, not this time. I haven't watched any new ones in a while. There's a
Oh,
couple that I
man.
want to watch, but I like kind of want to watch them with my mom, so I'm waiting. Although that
Okay.
woman at one point, this was hilarious. She had watched every period piece that Netflix offered
Wow.
for like in English. And so she was like, well, on to a different culture, and she blasted through all the Korean period piece dramas. She blasted through Turkish and Armenian ones too. She just started watching different language ones.
Oh my god, your mom does not fuck around.
No, she loves any period drama, and so she started working her way through literally any culture's period drama.
I love
So
her.
I really like that. I aspire to be like my mom in that sense.
That's wild, bro.
It's
All
great.
right, guys. So I think I should get into our social media accounts. You guys can find us on Twitter at y'all_different. You can find us on Facebook at Creative Differences, or you guys can check us out on Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast.
You can find me on Instagram at Stegosauria.
And you can find me on Twitter at Duck McGuck.
And you guys can find me, Demi, on Instagram and Twitter at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Let me know if you guys have any anime recommendations for me. Thank you guys again for joining us. You guys can find Dallas at You Damn Nerd on Twitter.
Wow, it's a lot.
Find Dallas at Siete Manos on Twitter.
It's been different. Bye.